Buying property off the plan often involves securing finance approval early on, which can give buyers a sense of security. But what many don't fully consider is what happens to that finance situation during the long waiting period from purchase to settlement, which can often take years. Now, during that time, the property is built, ready for settlement, and then by that time, lending conditions have changed. And market conditions can change significantly, even in a short period of time, creating major financial risks. And today, I want to talk to you about what some of those risks are. Hi there, Amanda from Buyers Agency Australia. Now, as always, please remember that the information contained herein is general and for educational purposes only. It isn't financial advice, so do ensure you consult with qualified professionals regarding your own personal circumstances first. Now let's get started. One of the biggest potential traps with financing off the plan property is this. Almost any significant market movement between when you sign that contract and when you settle can jeopardize your ability to complete the purchase. Now, it's not just about getting finance approved early, it's about being able to secure it under potentially very different market conditions than when you got your pre-approval to when you require your formal approval for settlement down the track. Now, understanding and planning for these kinds of unseen or unexpected financial risks is a critical part of any sound property investment strategy. If you'd like to discuss how to assess and mitigate those risks, whether you're considering purchasing off the plan or established, then please click the link below to book a free, no obligation strategy session with our team. We can help you navigate all of these complexities. Now, let's say hypothetically, you've paid your deposit for an off the plan property, settlement perhaps is 2 or 3 years away. Let's look at 3 potential market scenarios during that time and the financial risks that each of those presents when it comes time to settle. Scenario 1. The market goes down. Now let's say property values in the area fall between when you signed the contract and when you're due to settle. You agreed at purchase to pay $600,000 for this off the plan property. But when the bank sends a valuer out near completion, the valuer values the property at only $550,000. That's a $50,000 reduction before that property is even transferred into your name. Now, the issue here is that banks typically lend on a loan to value ratio. We call this LVR. And usually they like to lend at 80% of a property's current value. Note what I said there, value, 550, purchase price, 600. Now, the contract price is now higher than the valuation. And the bank doesn't like to carry risk, so they will go with whichever is lower, which is the valuation at 550. Now, if the valuation is lower, the bank will only lend to you 80% of that lower figure. So in this case, your $550K valuation will qualify you for a loan of $440,000 against a $600,000 purchase price and a $550,000 valuation. You will have a loan approved at $440,000. Now, you need to pay the developer what you agreed in that original contract, which is $600,000. So this means that your loan isn't enough to cover the gap between the $550 valuation, because you've got your 20% deposit at $550, to the price that you've agreed to pay the developer, $600,000. So that $50,000 cash shortfall, where does it come from? It comes out of cash in your pocket if you have it to bridge that gap. Now, if you can't find that cash or if you don't have that cash, then you can't settle on that contract, which means you have to forfeit, which we call rescinding. You rescind the contract and then you risk losing your entire deposit because the market moved and that finance couldn't cover your purchase. That's the first scenario. Let's look at scenario 2. The market stays flat. This might sound okay initially, right? You haven't lost any money, there's no shortfall in the valuation, The valuation has come back at the same price as the contract price, 600,000, 600,000. It seems good, right? But think about the opportunity cost. For those 2 or 3 years while you were waiting, while that property was being built, your deposit money was tied up. Your opportunity to purchase elsewhere was tied up. What that means is that you were treading water with zero growth that whole time. And zero growth in 3 years, where there's positive growth elsewhere, is equal to negative growth for you anyway, because you could have made money elsewhere instead of made no money on this deal. Now, maybe in shares or an established property that could have been generating rental income and potential capital growth during that period, you could have performed better. You may never know, or maybe you do know if you have friends that made other choices in that same period. And that can hurt, particularly when you're now settling on a property that has had zero growth in the same time period. Now, if the off-the-plan property value hasn't increased by settlement, what you've done is spent years paying rent or missing out on earning returns just to end up with a property worth what you negotiated years earlier. Plus, you've incurred transaction costs like legal fees, time is money, the flat market during the wait stopped you from purchasing other properties because your money was tied up. So you've lost time and you've lost gains. So even in a flat market, giving the illusion of no loss, there is still the loss of opportunity and time. So that brings me to scenario 3, what most people consider the golden goose, the market rises. This sounds like the ideal outcome, right? We want the market to go up. But this is the key difference. The property value has gone up. Your contract price is still 600,000. The bank valuation has gone up. So you've made equity on paper. But here's the catch, and we often see this play out. When property prices rise significantly, what follows? Interest rates often rise too. And as the Reserve Bank tries to cool the market, rising interest rates, the amount banks are willing to lend to you will generally come down. Lending restrictions tighten even if your income hasn't changed. Why? Because the same repayments on the same loan, on the same property value are now higher because the market's gone up, interest rates have followed, and your borrowing capacity has been impacted. So even though the property is worth more, you might find that at settlement, your serviceability has changed. The higher interest rates no longer qualify you for the same loan amount that you need. Now again, just like with scenario 1, if you can't secure the finance, you can't settle and your deposit is at risk. Now this highlights that initial finance pre-approval offers very little security when you're forecasting too far into the future. And even if the market goes up, unless interest rates stay the same or go down, your finance is not secure. Your deal might be great, but if you can't settle, that deal is no longer yours. So as you can see, regardless of whether the market goes down, flat, up, there are still risks involved. So purchasing off the plan years after with settlement later, that delay between signing and settling creates a window of uncertainty, of opportunity cost, and of risky finance that simply does not exist when purchasing established property. So understanding these finance risks associated with different market scenarios is so important before signing an off-the-plan contract, because you might very well be staring down the barrel into a property boom. That property boom could play out during the 3 years of your contract, and then you can't settle, you've missed an entire boom. So what this requires is careful consideration of your financial buffers, your risk tolerance for uncertainty, and if you want to delve deeper into that risk assessment and how to develop a property strategy that carefully considers all of these factors, then do please book a free, no obligation strategy session with us at Buyers Agency Australia via the link below, because there's a lot more to consider than what might first appear obvious to you. So I do hope that this explanation of the finance risks of purchasing off the plan has been helpful. If you found value in this discussion and want to learn more about making informed property investment decisions, then do please click on one of the videos showing on your screen now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.